The siege of Constantinople had been going on for days. The Ottoman army continued to pound the land walls, while the Byzantines placed their trust in fortifications that had stood unconquered for centuries. Yet the Byzantines' greatest confidence lay in the Golden Horn. Its entrance was sealed by a massive iron chain, stretched across the water, making it impossible for Ottoman ships to enter. Protected by the Byzantine fleet and coastal defenses, the Golden Horn was considered completely secure, allowing the defenders to focus almost entirely on the land walls. Mehmed the Conqueror understood that attacking the city from the land alone would not be enough. In his mind, Constantinople could only fall if pressure was applied from every direction. Without control of the Golden Horn, a complete conquest was impossible. Breaking the chain was nearly unthinkable. The Byzantine navy and fortifications made such an attempt extremely costly. It was at this moment that one of the most extraordinary ideas in military history was conceived. Mehmed ordered that the Ottoman ships would reach the Golden Horn, not by sea, but by land. At first glance, the idea seemed impossible. Moving large warships over hills, forests, and uneven terrain defied logic. But for Mehmed, impossibility was not an option. The command was given, and preparations began in absolute secrecy. A route was cleared from Tofane to Kasımpaşa. Trees were cut down, the ground was leveled, and thick wooden sledges were prepared to carry the ships. These sledges were heavily greased with animal fat and olive oil to reduce friction and allow the vessels to slide more easily. All of this was done quietly, without alerting the Byzantines to what was about to happen. On the night of April 21st to April 22nd, a moment that would change the course of history arrived. Ottoman soldiers and sailors began hauling the ships over land, accompanied by prayers and chants. Some vessels were pulled with ropes, others pushed by sheer manpower. Through an extraordinary effort that lasted throughout the night, nearly 70 Ottoman ships crossed the hills and were launched into the waters of the Golden Horn by dawn. When morning came, the Byzantines could hardly believe their eyes. The Golden Horn, which they had considered completely secure the day before, was now filled with Ottoman ships. Panic and shock spread through the city. Morale collapsed, and the defensive order was thrown into disarray. The Ottomans were now besieging Constantinople, not only from the land, but also from the sea. With the Ottoman fleet inside the Golden Horn, the Byzantines were forced to divide their already limited forces. Soldiers who had been defending the land walls now had to be redirected to the sea walls along the Golden Horn. This further weakened the city's defenses. Ottoman artillery was positioned along the shoreline, placing the walls under fire from multiple directions. This maneuver was not only a military triumph, but also a devastating psychological blow. The city's legendary defenses, trusted for centuries, proved powerless against the strategic brilliance of Mehmed the Conqueror. The Byzantines began to sense that the fall of the city was inevitable, while Ottoman soldiers knew that victory was drawing near. The hauling of the ships over land became one of the clearest demonstrations of Mehmed the Conqueror's military genius. It shifted the balance of the siege decisively in favor of the Ottomans and paved the way for the fall of Constantinople on May 29, 1453. From that moment on, the city was not only surrounded by armies, but by destiny itself. On March 30th, 1432, in the city of Edirne, a child was born who would change not only the fate of the Ottoman Empire, but the course of world history itself. This child was Mehmed II, later to be known as Mehmed the Conqueror. His birth was not the arrival of an ordinary prince. It was the first step toward the transformation of an entire era. Even in his cradle, the weight of destiny rested upon him. For what lay ahead was not merely a throne, but the fall of a 1,000-year-old empire. Mehmed was the son of Sultan Murad II, an experienced ruler proven both in statecraft and on the battlefield. Murad II was fully aware that his son must become more than a conventional sultan. From an early age, Mehmed was placed under a strict and disciplined education. His childhood within the palace was shaped not by games, but by books, lessons, and the constant supervision of scholars. His education went far beyond religious studies. Mehmed learned mathematics, geometry, and astronomy. He mastered Arabic and Persian and showed interest in Greek and Latin. He studied the histories of ancient Greece and Rome, repeatedly reading about the campaigns of Alexander the Great. These studies did more than provide knowledge. They forged an ambition. Long before he ever saw them, he imagined the walls of Constantinople through maps and texts. From a young age, Mehmed was repeatedly reminded of the Prophet Muhammad's saying about the conquest of Constantinople. Over time, this prophecy became more than an inspiration. It became a calling. Constantinople ceased to be just a city in his mind and turned into an inevitable destiny. This belief shaped his childhood dreams, his youth, and every major decision he would later make. In 1444, Sultan Murad II abdicated the throne and placed the 12-year-old Mehmed on the Ottoman throne. This was an extraordinary moment in Ottoman history, as the empire was now ruled by a child. Very soon, a serious crisis emerged. The Crusader forces were once again on the move, threatening Ottoman lands. Believing that a young and inexperienced ruler could not handle such a danger, the statesman called Murad II back to command the army. The Battle of Varna was won, but Mehmed was removed from the throne. This event was not a defeat for him, but a lesson. Sent to Manisa, Mehmed did not see this period as exile, but as preparation. He devoted himself to reading, reflection, and planning. He studied military strategy more intensely, became deeply interested in artillery technology, and refined his plans for the conquest of Constantinople. He was no longer a child. He was shaping himself for a destiny left unfinished. In 1451, following the death of Murad II, Mehmed ascended the Ottoman throne once again at the age of 19. This time, he was not an inexperienced boy, but a determined ruler with a clear vision. The moment he took the throne, his mind was fixed on a single goal. Constantinople had to fall. This time, it would not remain unfinished, and history would remember his name as the ruler who closed one age and opened another.